So here we go, talking about another part of the Bible. Just read Acts 2, 1 to 31 for the first time. Seems possible that some sort of spiritual experience might have happened, making a memorable event for one or more people. But then there's a lot of dogma including regarding what is said about the meaning of the event in the latter part of the passage. We know from our own lives that embellishment occurs when retelling of an event. This is talking about the day of Pentecost, which I did a video on, which you can find on my channel. But I wanted to talk about the end of this because it talks a little bit about prophecy in the future and what's to come. In Matthew 6:34, Jeshua said, "Therefore do not worry about tomorrow, for tomorrow will worry about itself. Each day has enough trouble of its own." He's telling you not to think about tomorrow, not to even think about prophecies of tomorrow. Tomorrow is ever changeable, always. And the reason we know that is because whatever you ask in God's name is granted. If we want tomorrow to be different, we just ask, and it's done. And we ask all the time. So there is no future that's set in stone. There is no fate or destiny. Now, as far as everyone having a big metaphysical experience, I'm really glad that you brought that up. There was a woman in Georgia who was having monthly apparitions of Mary. And Christians from all over the world were pilgriming to that site for the final one was being advertised. And I went to Georgia to be there on that moment. And I got in that crowd and I saw people wailing and crying and experiencing all sorts of things. And then at the time when she saw the apparition, she was in the house and nobody outside of the house could see it or experience it. But people were taking pictures of the sun, saying that the sun had a doorway over it. Now, I know that oftentimes a camera will reflect a square image in it because of the lighting, and you point it directly at the sun. It's likely that that'll happen. So a lot of people were saying that this doorway was an opening to God and the sun. People were going crazy about this doorway in the sky, and it was this big metaphysical experience. And the priests were inside with her, and she delivered her message. Only she could see the apparition. Nobody else could. And over a loudspeaker, they said, "The mother is here," and they had this whole big thing. And then they came out on the balcony and they read the message, and it was a dogmatic prediction of the future. It was some sort of thing from her belief that was manifested through her belief to the world. Now, did everyone have a mystical experience? Did everyone have that giant shared experience? First of all, they all saw exactly what they believed they'd see. They all, including me. I saw people putting faith in something and creating, and I went there and I was like hoping that I'd see some big mystical experience, but in hoping itself was a belief that I wouldn't, that wasn't happening, right? So as I sat there in that crowd, I was like, okay, we're here, we've done it. Not real excited about it, and it just really, but people came from South America to this event, and to have that much faith to come from another country to be there in that moment, of course they were going to have some sort of mystical experience because they put that much faith in it to come that far to see it. Shared mystical experiences can absolutely happen if you have people who are together with a similar belief and they're talking their way through it, defining that belief. And so that's the first part of the comment that I see here in Acts is that they're looking at this mystical experience as a group and shared event, right? And I look at that fascinating. Then in the last part of it, I see this dogmatic teaching of the future. Now, let me say about the whole thing. This is a Judeo-Christian perspective. Now, when Jeshua talked about the oneness of God and there is no hierarchy and all those things, that is not Judeo or Christian, right? It's not a Jewish belief. It's not a Christian belief. It's a universal truth belief is what it really is. And when you look at the whole level of teachings, and I don't want to negate what they're saying because that's their belief. They're in my Father's house there are many mansions. They can all get to the source. We're all going to go back to the source. We're all going to go back to the source. And when we all go back to the source, we're going to see, the directions we took to get there. But as far as the speaking in tongues and all that, I don't. It doesn't ring true to me. Number one, and in the modern interpretation of speaking in tongues, they all speak gibberish. And the interesting thing is, the ones who speak in tongues all belong to churches that believe in speaking in tongues, so they have that faith that happens. So when you look at that experience, it is literally a matter of what you believe, you do receive. What you believe, you will experience. In the beginning is your Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. It goes out and creates it around you in the image of God. And so you're experiencing exactly the belief that you have. And so that's when I look at this passage, that's what I see, and that's what I read. And I hope that makes perfect sense to you. And I will talk to you soon. See ya. Bye.